Hi everyone, it's James here. Welcome to another video. So today I'm going to do a somewhat belated contest entry for Rob Walker, and hopefully everybody who's subscribed to me is now subscribed to Rob. He's been on the VC for at least a couple of years. Great guy. He's over Manchester way, and Rob's made a big impression on the vinyl community and on YouTube since he's been with us. Got a very wide range of tastes and buys a lot of new and interesting records. Really nice guy. He's very active on the live stream part of the VC, which is a recent innovation that's been happening, and he wants us to talk about some cool stuff. So the concept of Rob's contest, and I can't remember now if it's a subs contest or it's a 2-year anniversary contest. I'm getting a bit mixed up. I'll put it down below. Make sure that you are in full possession of all the facts. He just wants us to talk about 5 bands or artists that we wish we had seen live. Great idea, and one of the reasons it's taken me so long to get my response up is just trying not to second guess myself, you know. You can overthink these things. It's easy sometimes not to be honest with yourself, and I've produced numerous different lists and I've looked at them and I've looked at them, and I've tried to finally just be completely honest with myself. I'm not a massive fan of live music, has to be said. You know, I'm mainly a record guy. I enjoy listening to music in the comfort of my own home. So lots of the bands and artists that I had in my list, I looked at them and I just thought, you know what? Even though I love that band, I wouldn't be that bothered about seeing them live. You know, Steely Dan, love their records, not particularly, you know, interested in seeing them do that live. So I kind of went for things that were either just in my gut, you know, in my soul from when I first started getting into music, or I went for the big legendary things. You know, let's not try and shy away from this. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to make absolutely no apology for my first choice, and that's the Beatles. I could easily have done all 5 picks just for the Beatles. You know, I could have gone for the John Lennon Quarrymen gig in Liverpool where Paul McCartney met John for the first time. Then I'd have gone for, say, a Hamburg gig at the Star Club back in the early 60s. Then I would have gone for the Cavern, the first Cavern gig that they played with Ringo Starr in 1962, shortly after Pete Best being forced out of the group. Then I could have gone for Shea Stadium, and then I could have gone for the Rooftop Apple gig. And hand on heart, I'd be happy with that. If I had 5 choices on any given day, I might just go with that. But I'm not going to go down that route. I'm not going to go do 5 for the Beatles. I'll just do 1. It does make my job a little bit more difficult. I've got to choose which one. On reflection, I would go with the 1962 Cavern gig, which was televised. There's some very famous black and white images of that gig. It was shortly after Pete Best had been ousted from the band. They did a usual lunchtime session at the Cavern, but with Ringo. They're in the suits by now. You can see Epstein's influence has crept in. But to have seen them at that gig would have been quite something, I think. Kind of in retrospect, you know, knowing what we know now, it would have been, it would be pretty far out to go back into that club and just be kind of up close. That, you know, that close to the band, that would just be incredible. I mean, the Rooftop gig as well, but with the Rooftop gig, it wasn't a proper gig as such, and you'd have to have watched it from one of the neighbouring roofs. You know, I think the Cavern would have been more exciting, more visceral. But I would have loved to have been at Shea Stadium anyway, with, you know, my hands over my ears, and yeah, okay. Anyway, so I forced myself just to have the Beatles as one slot in the 5. So now I'm going to go back to my musical roots, and I'm going to go with the Motors. Now these guys were only together for about 3 years. Long-term viewers will know that they were my first favourite band really when I was growing up, when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And the Motors played a gig at, it was the Reading Festival. I think they played it in 1978, or it might have been 1979. It was before the release of the second album, Approved by the Motors. I know that because in the liner notes for Approved by the Motors, it talks about this Reading Festival appearance. So they wouldn't have played the famous songs, Airport and Forget About You, because they were on the second album. So if I'd seen the Motors live at the Reading Festival, they would have been doing material from this record, their first album, which is a kind of fast, dirty, rock and roll record, really. You know, loud Stooges guitars. It's got a bit of Status Quo in there, a bit of pub rock, but it's tinged with a bit of not punk exactly, but there's a kind of new wave energy to it. And strangely enough, I would probably choose to be there. If I could choose to be there at any time in my life, I would actually choose to be there. Not at the age that I am now, but at the age that I was back then. If my parents could somehow have seen their way to taking me to the Reading Festival when I was 7 or 8 years old, just after I got into the motors, if I could have seen them, it would have just blown my mind, I think. I mean, I can't actually imagine how great it would have been, but I would love to have seen them. They're a kind of great lost band for me, you know. I mean, they were, even by 1979, you know, they were gone, they'd split, and they've never reformed, so it just would have been great to see them. Right, my third one, another 60s band. I would love to have seen these guys because they put on such a great show, by all accounts. This is The Move. Now, when The Move got together in Birmingham, they were a bit of a supergroup in Birmingham, but they went down to London. They were managed by a guy called Tony Secunda, and he was a bit of a, he was like a prequel to Malcolm McLaren. And Tony Secunda was great at making a big media splash, and he kind of re-envisaged The Move as this kind of Who type mod band. You can see there they're all very kind of sharply dressed and everything. And Secunda had seen The Who live and had seen all the instruments smashing and the you know Keith Moon hurling his drums at the audience. So he thought, let's just take it one stage further. So they used to do things like used to smash TV sets on stage. They used to go to a junk shop just before the gig, buy all these TV sets, and then the singer Carl Wayne would smash an axe into the TV sets and explode all the glass and everything. And their gigs apparently were completely riotous affairs, and everybody who went to see them in the 60s will still kind of tell you, you know, oh yeah, The Move were an incredible band. They had a four-piece front line of singers. They had Roy Wood and Carl Wayne, Ace Kefford and Trevor Burton and Ace Kefford would all sing. So they learned all the kind of West Coast harmony stuff, you know, the Byrds, the Buffalo Springfield type vocals, and they reproduced it on stage really well. And then they also had this magnificent rhythm section of Bev Bevan and Trevor Burton, who were just very, very heavy and wild, and I don't know, it just would have been great to have seen The Move at the Marquee. It would have been circa maybe 1966, 1967. I think that would have been tremendous. So that's my third one. Okay, so now I'm going to go for a singer now, get away from the bands for a minute. I would have loved to have seen this guy. He had become a star in America in the late 50s, early 60s. He became very big for a while in the pre-Beatles era. Then after the Beatles broke big, gradually his star waned, particularly in America. But in the UK, he retained this amazingly loyal fan following. So this is Roy Orbison. And in the 70s, he mainly earned his bread and butter salary as a working musician in the clubs of England. He played a gig at a venue in West Yorkshire called the Batley Frontier Club. And years ago, when I was in a band, my band played a terrible audition at the Batley Frontier Club to be on a show called Pebble Mill, which was a kind of daytime magazine type program, and we went and did this audition at Batley Frontier. I think it's called Frontier Club. It's just one of those sort of Scampi in the Basket type venues, you know, with the tables and the chandeliers and everything. But Roy played that gig. I would have loved to have been, just as a matter of example, I could have gone to that one, or I could have gone to any of the gigs that the Big O played in the 1970s. He had this band of English guys with him who were called the Art Movement, and they were very loyal to Roy. They kind of stayed with him for years and years, and it's quite amazing now to think that, I mean, he is a complete legend now. I mean, he joined the Travelling Wilburys obviously in the late 80s, and just before he died he had become a fairly major star again. But just to think of him slogging his way through the 70s in all these slightly cheesy clubs, there's a sort of tragic dimension to it, but I still think it would have been really incredible to have seen him. So there we go. The Big O, what a hero. And to finish, I started with the big obvious one, so I will finish with a big obvious one. I couldn't leave these guys out. One of my biggest regrets in my life in music was I never got to see Queen. I've got a friend who saw them, who, in fact, he went to the concert that was later immortalised on the DVD, Queen Live at Wembley. He went to that concert, and I remember I used to be so jealous of that, because I used to watch that video incessantly. I absolutely love it. You know, it was back when I was kind of, I don't know, 16, 17, and a bit older, in fact, after I started playing in bands, and I decided it would be quite good to be a rock and roll star, you know. That particular DVD was my absolute kind of go-to fantasy TV music rock concert. You know, I'd watch it and with my friends, and we'd have a few drinks, and we'd just look at it and go, imagine being Queen. You know, it was just so amazing. Now, whether I would choose that one now, I don't know. I'm torn between that one. There's a few Queen gigs. I think, hand on heart, I would probably rather have gone to the legendary Rainbow concert, which was round about the time of Sheer Heart Attack, I think. I know they were playing songs in that concert from the Queen 2 album. No, and from Sheer Heart Attack too, because they play Now I'm Here. So that was the era of the band, obviously, a much earlier era. So you're not talking about Freddie in his white t-shirt and his tash. You're talking about Freddie in his kind of flowing Japanese robes, and you've got all the dry ice and everybody with long hair, and Brian May with his platform boots, and just the music, just that kind of heavy quality which early Queen had. Sorry, I just had to cut to the next day because my camera messed up yesterday. So I was saying, yeah, if I could have gone back in time and seen that concert, it would have been amazing. I'd be happy to be the age I am now for that one. I'd have been too young and have been about 3 years old for that concert. I think that would have been a bit much, really. So anyway, yeah, Queen, couldn't leave them out. They had to be in there. So that's it. That's my entry for Rob's contest. Rob, hope that was okay. Good luck with the channel, mate. Keep up the good work. And for the rest of yous out there, if you haven't subscribed to Rob, I urge you to do so. You'll find a link to his channel down in the description below. So take care. I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.